It's not that easy being green, having to spend each day the color of the leaves.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am Paul Caputo, SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent, broadcasting live, as always, from the Helmet Sunday Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado. We're talking today about one of my all-time favorite minor league brands. This one is so much fun. It just embodies minor league fun here. It's the Everett AquaSox, High-A affiliate, now High-A affiliate of the Seattle Mariners. Used to be the short season single-A affiliate of the Mariners, but that classification doesn't exist anymore. Later on in this episode, I'll be joined by AquaSox General Manager Danny Tetzlaff. And then a first for Baseball by Design, an interview recorded live at the ballpark. I'll be joined by Baseball by Design wildlife consultant Ranger Amy Burnett. We're going to talk about frogs. But first, I'm so happy to be joined right now by Bob Bavasi, who was the owner of the team when it moved to Everett and they became the AquaSox. Obviously, Bob and his wife Margaret, they owned the team together, were integral in choosing the nickname for the Everett AquaSox. And so we're going to talk about that. But first of all, Bob, thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. What a treat. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. How did it come to pass that you were the owner of this minor league team in Everett, Washington?
Well, thanks so much, Paul. Thanks for having me. This is fun to sort of think back on this. My family's been involved in the game, and my dad at the time was running the San Diego Padres, and I was in college, and I graduated in 1976 from college, right when free agency was starting. And as my older brother Peter said one time, he said, we have two very important pieces of paper to get into baseball: our college diploma and our birth certificates. And so I was able to get a job in the front office there at the Padres as sort of a gopher in the minor league department. But I got to know the minor leagues. But more importantly, the game changed almost immediately then with free agency. And so I went to law school, and my intent was, after practicing law for a while, to get back in the front office. But I happened to see an article in the Sporting News about minor league baseball teams that they were actually making money, which truly was unheard of in the early 80s, for sure, or mid 80s. And so anyway, we lost our minds and decided to buy one, but we couldn't really afford one, even though they were almost giving them away then. So we had to really get our pennies together. And we ended up buying one of the only two unaffiliated teams in the country. And being unaffiliated from Major League Baseball meant it was just a license to lose money. Mm-hmm. So but before we made the offer on what was the Walla Walla Blue Mountain Bears, the San Francisco Giants wanted to get into the Northwest League, where the Walla Walla Blue Mountain Bears were. And they said that they would come with us wherever we might be, whether it be in Walla Walla or not. And so when we bought the team at the end of the 83 season, we looked around and we decided, after much looking around, to go to Everett, Washington, which is about, well, I know exactly. It's 29 miles. It was 29 miles north of the Kingdome, and the Kingdome and the new stadium now is maybe a few hundred yards south of that. So we were the closest minor league team to any major league market. And we look, and people said, "You're going to get killed. You're just going to get smoked because you're so close to a major league market." But in fact, we did just fine, and the club has done just fine. It's been here now since 1984, and we owned it until about the year 2000. So we had to about the year 2000, and we were with the Giants, as I say, and so our name was the Everett Giants. And the uniforms looked like the San Francisco Giants, except for the hat, which had a big E on it for Everett. And interestingly enough, the San Francisco Giants, our first manager was a guy named Rocky Bridges, who played in the big leagues, just terrific. And his given first name was Everett, so that was just a nice little bow that Giants put on it. But anyway, so that was it. That's how we got to Everett. And then from there, we were just mom and pop running a minor league baseball team.
Absolutely. So the year is 1995. You've been named for your parent club since you moved to Everett. It's a long-standing premise of this podcast that minor league baseball teams named for their parent clubs are boring. There should be a constitutional amendment outlawing it. So you chose wisely to go with a unique nickname, and you ended up with the Everett AquaSox. And I know that you were integrally involved in this. So can you talk about where the name AquaSox came from, and this groovy psychedelic looking frog with his tongue hanging out and all the logo full of gradient blends and this wacky colored brand that you all had.
Yeah, that really is sort of fun to think about that. Well, what really happened, or what was the mover of all that was, I remember it was the team in Chattanooga that had the lookouts, with the eyes, and then the guys who had the catfish, the mudcats. Okay, they were kind of the first ones that kind of do something sort of fun. I think with the logo, at least that caught my eye.
Yeah, but
I wasn't going to change just to change. We weren't going to do that just to do that. So what happened was the Seattle Mariners, at some point in the 90s, were going to move. They were going to move to Florida. They wanted to do ballpark and what have you. And what came out of that was a new ballpark here in Seattle, but also new ownership. And one day, and the ballpark in Everett is not large. And so and until we got the upgrade in Everett, which we got sort of at the end of our time, we would have to put people on the field. Okay. So like opening night in Everett, Washington, our very first night, we had to stick people on the outfield, on the warning track. And then we got to where we purchased this cloth material that we put on the foul lines. And so if we sold out general admission, well then, hey, Paul, you're welcome to sit out here on the field. And so you would go sit out on, essentially on the grass on the, on the other side of the foul line. And one day I was walking out there, just sort of visiting people, and I saw one of the owners, the new owners from the Mariners, and he's out there lying on my grass. And I thought, any guy who's going to be out lying on my grass watching a ball game is a pretty good guy to know. So I got to know him better, and I got to know the new ownership group. And by that time, everyone in San Francisco who we had been with to start, they'd all gone. It's baseball. People sort of go through. So they're all gone. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go with the Seattles now, because they were just Chris Larson was the fellow's name, just struck me. So anyway, we ended up going with the Mariners. Now that we're with the Mariners, we have the opportunity to maybe do something, change. Because by then I had come to your conclusion that having the name would be boring, right? And particularly if you're right down the street. So now we're taking the Paul Caputo approach, and we're going to now decide that we're going to do something. So the first thing we did, Paul, was we thought about the logo first. As a matter of fact, the name came at the very end. It was all about the logo. And so then when we were thinking about the logo, we decided, well, we want something that we could anthropomorphize, if you will, some that arms and legs. And, and if we were going to, use this can of soda here, then I would figure out a way to give it arms and legs and the face and that kind of stuff. So that was the mission. And at the time, there was no internet shopping. You weren't going online and looking for stuff. And it just, so this must have been like 90. If we did it 95, so this must have been 94. So Margaret liked to look at catalogs, catalog shop. And so she was looking at a catalog one night, and she ripped out a page, and she said, "How about this?" Now we've been going now for 4 months. We just haven't found anything that we liked, and so she tears us out, and it's this tree frog. It's one of these Central American tree frogs. And it's got the colors, and it's cute, and it's got all the things that we thought kids would like, because we really were trying to appeal to kids. And so, bingo, this is it. Now, how do we make this happen in Everett? And why is there a Central American tree frog in Everett? Well, it turns out we do have frogs around here, during part of the year. So a little tree frog. So okay, I'm in bounds there. And we decided, who cares if it's more colorful? And no one's ever said to me, "Hey, where did you come up with this?" There's nothing to do with Everett, but it's a frog, and we have frogs here, and that was that. So the frog was really the thing. And then we went to Major League Baseball. We decided to use their artists. Okay. And which all that did was just cost us a ton of dough. We should have just gotten the guy next door to do it, but because there was nothing special that came out of that. As a matter of fact, it was so. I said, okay, look, here's the frog, and we would send them, photos of, like out of, I don't know where we'd find. We sent them photos, and they still couldn't quite get it. So we actually bought 2 of these frogs, and we sent one of them to them.
Oh my gosh!
Sent them a frog. They said, "Look, this is what it's supposed to be." Okay, it's showing up on your doorstep. So anyway, so finally we got the frog, and the way you see it now, except it looked mean. It looked mean, but we said, hey, you know what, this frog looks kind of mean. And they did one thing to fix it, and they put a little dot of white in the eye, and that made it the way you see it now.
Okay.
And so now we have the logo. Okay, now we need the name. And that was hard. And AquaSox, that was really the final piece. We named it at the end. Okay. And we decided that we wanted something baseball-y, so hence the word SOX for socks, after the White Sox, Red Sox, what have you. And then we came up with aqua because of all the water here in the Pacific Northwest around where we're at. So that was sort of that. And then they put all that together. And then the other problem was we wanted, the coloring we wanted was new. It was a new color. The blue was a new color. One of the blues was a new color. And that then it took a little bit more time because one of them didn't want to do it. Oh, the uniform guys, they didn't want to do it. We said, well, then we're going to go to Rawlings, or whatever. And they said, so that was we had a little pushback there, but then they did it. And the hat guys were great because when the hat is a difficult logo because as you point out when you started, Paul, that there are gradients in it, and you have gradients with thread. You have to run thread over, another sort of lightly to give this gradient. If you look at it up close, you'll see these threads that go over another color. But if you step back, you see it. And I suppose the biggest, I was thinking then about this, so we unveiled this, and I remember the trainer had put out all the uniforms and all the hats and all the stuff, and now that the players are going to go in the clubhouse the first time to get their uniforms, and they'd never seen this before. And I stood by the back door. I didn't want anyone to see me because I just was worried they were just going to flip out and go, "What the heck is this? What are we doing? Who thought of this?"
Right?
No, they were great. They loved it. And then one of the biggest boosters was a guy named Woody Woodward, who was the general manager. He played for the Yankees. He was the general manager for the Mariners at the time, and he wore the hat all the time. So you'd see him being interviewed on television for something about the Mariners, and there's the little frog on his head. So it was good.
Yeah. So being there in that place, and you talked a little bit about the reaction here, but from the community at large, when you have been named for your parent club, you probably have a sort of conservative identity visually, and then to completely turn that on its head with this frog that, according to the press release, by the way, when I wrote the article in sportslogos.net, there was a press release from 1995 that said that the frog was equal parts Pacific tree frog, Central American frog, and Brooks Robinson. Do you remember that?
Oh, right. I remember there's something. Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. So that's the great thing about minor league baseball is we can be silly, and of course, at the time we figure, well, who's going to remember that? Well, right. Paul Caputo does.
Here we are.
Here we are.
27 years later.
Right. But yeah, I would say that at the beginning, the reaction was mixed.
Yeah.
I don't think, people around here, because they were used to this, why change? Some people didn't want us going with the Mariners, but I figured, okay, this is the time to make the change. We're going to go with the Mariners. We're going to change the look. We're going to do all this stuff. And I also know from talking with other guys who've made the change, you do get that sort of that, oh, it's okay. Well, what am I trying to say? I'm suggesting that there was no great outcry one way or the other, until time went on. And as time went on, we could see that we'd made the right move. People liked it. The kids really liked it. It sold a lot, and during the time, Major League Baseball, they started licensing our logos, and they would take the top 25 and put them at the ballparks, at the big league parks. And so we ended up doing very well. As a matter of fact, I remember we sold the club, I don't know, let's say if we did this in 95, so we had it for 5 years or so. So now we sold the club. We took the kids, our two daughters, on like a little baseball road trip. We went to Detroit so they could see a ballpark like where their grandfather, would have worked at, during his time. And so we went there, and boom, we saw people, hands wearing, the frog, and we'd be in the airport, we'd see people wearing the frog, and so it really was fun. It was a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Well, it's a really fun brand, and it's, one that I've enjoyed for a long time. At the time of this recording, I'm going to be there next week, a week, 9 days. I'll be there for a game. I've been there once before. I ran the AquaSox 5K. So the only AquaSox 5K, the only, yeah, the only AquaSox T-shirt I have is the one from the 5K. So I think I might just need to get one just for the team here.
Oh, good. Well, good for you for doing that, and thanks for coming out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to being there next week. By the time this drops, I will have been there again. So it's a Friday. It's an unusual Friday afternoon game that we're going to. So that'll be.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
oh, interesting. So those guys are doing a great job. Danny and those guys are just doing. I tell you, when we sold the club, we weren't sure we were going to stay here. And the great thing about staying here is that everyone who's followed us has done a good job.
Well, that's great. That's nice to be able to hear that and to know that this thing that you launched out there into the world is still around. And I hope it's around for a long time. I know that change is change is the only constant in minor league baseball. And this logo has endured as the minor league baseball logo landscape gets more and more wacky. This one has endured. So I've been glad to see that.
And and the other thing about it is Danny, they've tweaked it. They've done some things to tweak it, and also because he's got arms and legs and face and all that. We did a lot of stuff with the different characters. I remember we had him as John Travolta, Staring at Lightning, or. You can make them do different things in the the real world with mascots and all that, but also with your merchandise and what have you. So they've done a good job of it, and it's been fun to watch. So.
Well, I look forward to checking it out. Bob, thank you so much for joining me. Where can folks find you online and on social media?
I don't do any social media. I'm an old guy. I'm afraid if I do, I'm going to spend all my time doing that. But we have Bavasi Sports, Bavasisports.com, Bavasi Sports Partners, my brothers, and what have you. So if I'd be happy to hear from the many legions. But I'm at our website is Bavasi Sports. With an S on the end. My email is bob@bavasisports.com.
Bob, this has been great fun. Thank you so much. I will check out bavasisports.com and look forward to catching up with you sometime again for another conversation. And in the meantime, I'll look forward to getting out to an AquaSox game.
Okay. Hey, Paul, thanks so much. This was a treat. What a guy. Thank you.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I'm so happy right now to be joined by Danny Tetzlaff, who is the general manager for the team. Danny, thank you for joining me.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, absolutely. So I know that you were not with the team when they rebranded in 1995. That was a long time ago. You've been with the team since 2015. And so I'll just ask you as a relative newcomer. I mean, it's been 7 years that you've been with the team now. What were your perceptions of the brand, of the AquaSox brand, when you came in and started working for the team?
I thought it was a cool name and brand. I had seen the logo and always thought it was pretty unique and interesting. My background, I'd been with a lot of different teams. One of them was the Casper Rockies, which was near Fort Collins, which was not anything crazy, but they did rebrand and become the Casper Ghosts.
Yeah.
I was not there when they did that, but then I did work for a team that had a really good brand and logo and name, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs.
A great one.
Fast forward to AquaSox.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's hear it from you. What is an AquaSox and why is there a team in Everett, Washington named for it?
Well, the team came here in 1984 from Walla Walla, Washington, and they play at Everett Memorial Stadium, which is a high school stadium. And they moved here, and he just wanted to be in a bigger market. And Everett's only 25 miles from Seattle. We're actually 28 miles from plate to plate, from our home plate to the Seattle Mariners home plate.
Nice.
Maybe 28 and a half, but I always just say 28. And he had the team here, brought him here. We were affiliated with the Giants. And the easiest way in the past to name your team was to take the name of the parent club.
Yeah.
Boring. So we were the Everett Giants.
Yep.
From 84 through 95. We became the Mariners in 95. So obviously a name change was in order. Bob Bavasi, he is, like I said, a baseball guy. He loved the traditional baseball name that ends in Sox, just like the Red Sox and the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a logo that's on our batting practice hat that is it's a pair of socks, but it's aqua socks like you'd wear if you're scuba diving or fishing, something like that, or beach clamming, I guess. And the socks only have 3 toes because I guess frogs only have 3 toes.
Which is funny because the frog in your logo has
more than 3.
5 toes on one foot. Wow, I'm looking at it now. 5 toes on the back feet and 4 toes on the front feet. I've never noticed that. That's really funny.
Now I'm gonna put my glasses on and check you out.
You've been working for the team for 7 years. If someone asked you how many toes are on the logo,
that's 5 on the back, 4 on the front.
Absolutely. Well, I'll have to look at a Brazilian tree frog now.
Go outside and catch a frog and see.
I need a Brazilian tree frog to go compare this to. So
we jokingly say it's a Brazilian tree frog, but there are frogs that look like our logo in the area. I was at a friend's house after I'd been working here 2 years, and we were in the backyard having a picnic, or a cookout, as I call it from the South. It's not a barbecue. Barbecue you get at the barbecue stand, and it's chopped pork. But anyway, that's another story. There was these tiny little frogs jumping all around in their backyard, and they had red feet, and they looked just like our logo. And I actually got a couple on my hand and took a picture of it. Still got it on my phone. I was like,
that's fantastic.
They are here.
Yeah. In 2015, I wrote an article for sportslogos.net about the team, and I talked with your longtime broadcaster, Pat Dillon.
Yep.
And I think he might have been actually reading from a press release from 1995. And he said that the frog is a cross between a Pacific tree frog, appropriate to your region, a Central American red-eyed tree frog, and Brooks Robinson. Have you heard the Brooks Robinson part of that before?
You know what? That's probably on an article that we have framed in our conference room. Maybe it's because he's got the gloves, and Brooks had a very good glove.
Oh, that could be a four-fingered glove here, I guess. As a Mariners affiliate, you have a version of the logo that I really enjoy, which is the old Mariners trident, not the more recent ones that they've been using. They had the old Mariners trident shaped like the letter M. You all turned it on its side to shape it like the letter E instead of the letter M. And it's actually on the very most recent Helmet Sunday that I got for the collection from Everett. That's the logo that's on it.
Oh.
So it's a really fun sort of tie to the Mariners affiliation. How important is that Mariners affiliation to your brand? And obviously, like you say, 28 miles plate to plate.
It's extremely important. I mean, would we have baseball here without the Mariners? Sure we would. But would our fans be excited and as passionate about it if it was I don't want to name any team because then I will sound like I'm poo-pooing a team. But I mean, even if it was the Yankees, one of the most iconic teams out there, people here aren't clamoring for Yankees gear, even though there's more Yankee fans around here than I sometimes can believe. But, if we were the Atlanta Braves, the Red Sox, the White Sox, you name it, it wouldn't have the cachet as the Mariners. I mean, we get ball players that play here, and now that we're High-A, they play here, and 1 year later they're in the bigs, and sometimes even that same year. I mean, the Mariners have a pitcher named George Kirby, who's a starter for us last year. Now he's a starter for the Mariners. They have another guy, Matt Brash. Kyle Lewis was Rookie of the Year in 2020. He played for us. But the big name that everybody knows now is Julio Rodriguez. He played here last year. And he came out of the box at 6-game stretch that he hit 5 home runs. He just was, and we have a net behind our outfield fence to catch all the fly home run balls to keep them out of the street. But that didn't stop Julio. He hit them all over the net. I mean, he hit some into the net, but his batting practice sessions were pretty impressive to watch. Because a fly ball for him, a pop-up for some guys would turn into a home run. He's a very powerful young man. He played here, so
very cool. And now he just signed a massive extension with Mariners here, so it's he'll be around a while. I hope.
Yep, he broke the window of a small Toyota Prius during batting practice one day, and the first time I've ever had a window get broken where the insurance company actually paid for it. I turned it in. I told the poor person, I said, your insurance is probably going to need to pay for this. And she said, well, will you turn it in on yours? And I said, no, I'm not going to, but if you insist, I will. And I did. And my guys actually paid, which I thought was very rare, but
Nice.
that was interesting. And we got a resident guy that chases all the home run balls, and he wanted some of the glass from the Prius to put in the case with the baseball.
Oh, no. It wasn't Zach Hampel, I hope.
No,
as long as it's not noted home run chaser Zach Hampel, that's okay. One of the other connections that you have to the Seattle brand is that the type on the logo is, you know, on the roundel, you've got the frog in the middle, and then it says Everett AquaSox around the, you know, in a circle there. That type is from the Mariners jerseys that they had in the 1980s, and so that's a cool connection too that I really like. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's very, very close if you put them up side by side here.
You mentioned the trident that's on our hat. We turn it sideways and it becomes an E.
Yeah,
that is obviously the frog is on our home hat. That E is on our road hat. So when they're playing down in Eugene or in Spokane, the guys are wearing a road hat that has an E on it, and they looks at it, and Mariners fans know what it is.
Yeah,
and like you said, it's the old trident. They have updated it a little bit.
It's perfect. It's a perfect use of that. It's such a clever use of turning that, you know, from an M to an E, but it's the, you know, very similar design wise. So that's I really
work that allows us to do that from the Mariners.
Okay.
There's trademark issues there, so we had to get an agreement from them for us to use it.
Yeah, that's great. That's very clever. I enjoy that a lot. It's so one of the other things I wanted to ask about with this frog in particular, and, you know, understanding that you weren't there when it, you know, came into being. I know that the team has had an event called Frog Stock over the years, and the frog has a certain sort of tie-dyed quality about it. You know, in the article in 2015 that I wrote, when I interviewed Pat Dillon, you know, we were sort of joking about how it looked like maybe this frog had been licking its own hallucinogenic skin here. So it has a little sort of bug-eyed, sort of wild-eyed look about it. And I love the connection to the community, right? Like, it's a soggy place, right? 49 inches of rain a year in Everett is the stat that I had back in 2015. 30% more than the national average. So it's a pretty soggy place. I'm hoping that we have good weather on September 9. We're recording this in advance of September 9, but I'm going to be there on September 9 with my girlfriend Amy, and we're hoping for decent weather there. It's part of a 3-game trip that we're taking in the Pacific Northwest. So definitely looking forward to getting back out there. It'll be my second time there.
So you're going to come to our game, and what's your itinerary after that?
We head up to Vancouver for a Canadians game. Saturday the 10th. It's a night game on the 10th, and then we'll come back Sunday for an afternoon Mariners game, and then we fly out Sunday night.
Okay, so Sunday the Mariners game is probably 1:00.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And then we fly out at like 8:00 that night.
You're probably very, very fortunate if this weather holds out. You'll see 3 great ballparks and have really great weather. Your timing is fortunate. Let's leave it at that.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to that. I'll come by and say hi to you when we're up there, if that's okay. And I appreciate you taking a minute to talk to me about the AquaSox. This is really one of my favorite brands.
I'll be at the game, man. So all you got to do, I'll be here, and we'll definitely hook up with you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a few days.
All right, Paul. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care. All right, everyone, welcome back. I'm here right now, live at Funko Field in Everett, Washington, with Baseball by Design wildlife consultant Amy Burnett, also live at Funko Field with me, watching the Everett AquaSox.
So great.
How great is this? On a Friday afternoon,
day.
There's a ground ball. The out of first base recorded. All right.
I love it.
So as our wildlife consultant for Baseball by Design, you're back. This is your second appearance as the Baseball by Design wildlife consultant, with more to come.
Yes.
And since we're here watching the Everett AquaSox, and we've got an episode already in the works on the Everett AquaSox, I thought, let's talk to you about the Pacific tree frog and the Central American red-eyed frog to learn a little bit more about them. What's going to make them a great mascot for a baseball team? Why is a team in Everett, Washington named for tree frogs? First of all, Amy, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is what a great day.
What a beautiful day. We've got beautiful sunshine. We've got a ball game going on right now. We got a ground ball to second base and the out at first. There you go.
I wish you could see it because we're up really high in the stands and we were just down low, and it's a little bit like being a tree frog because we can climb really well, and you get different views from wherever you are.
That is, you're doing great work right now. I mean, that's really good right there. Well, so tell us, what is it about the tree frog, Pacific or Central American, that is going to make them a really good ball player?
Well, I think that they have kind of hidden talents that they can use whenever they want to. They have these really sticky pads that make them great climbers. So in baseball, that would be useful because they're very versatile. But they don't use the Pacific tree frog doesn't use their pads all the time. They actually stay on the ground more. But the Central American red-eyed tree frog, those guys, they actually are climbing up and down, and they're not on the ground very much because if you're everything wants to eat you when you're a frog. Lots of snakes and things that are on the ground.
That's what they say.
Yeah. If you're a Pacific tree frog, you're on the ground a lot. If you're a red-eyed tree frog, you're in the leaves and the trees a lot, just because there are a lot more things that can eat you in the Central America area. And the Central American red-eyed tree frogs have a toxic skin, so you don't want to lick them.
Well, I think that's
Don't
true.
lick the frogs.
That's true of every baseball player too. Like, there's not like they discourage licking the ball players when you come to a game.
Well, you might have to ask the players that before you speak for them.
That's a good point. You make an excellent point. So as we're sitting here at this game, the wall in left field and center field, and really almost all the way into right field. So the wall, like 2/3 of the outfield wall here, has to be a good like 20 to 25 feet high. I mean, it's no green monster, but it is. I mean, we've got very large ads on the walls out there. It's like twice the size of a normal outfield wall.
It really is.
I'm thinking the Central American, the red-eyed frog in Central America, is going to make a great outfielder at a ballpark like this, where he might be able to scale that wall and bring back a home run that otherwise would leave the ballpark. Whereas the Pacific tree frog, who we know is also part of the identity here, is going to be more like playing on the infield, right? Like if they're on the ground.
But even though the Pacific tree frog doesn't use its skills very often, it has just as great climbing skills, and it still has those suction-y feet that have a slime under them. So the two different kinds of tree frogs are great. Just one uses it more. So really, it's kind of like an outfielder that uses its jumping ability, but the infielders have to use that as well, especially if a ball is going to go right over their head, right? But oh no, I said jumping ability, so that doesn't really apply.
The Clemson Tiger and shortstop, James Parker.
So maybe the outfielders don't get a chance to sort of scale that wall as often as you'd think, but when they need to, it's important.
All right.
For both species.
Well, and it seems to me, so they might be really good at catching the ball with their sticky pads. But then
I think so.
But then they have to throw the ball.
Yeah, then they might be stuck. Like I'm thinking, like I'm doing this motion where like the ball is not like leaving the glove. It's just kind of stuck. So it's kind of like a slime underneath their pads, a sticky slime that helps them to stick on the wall. So I don't know if Spider-Man had that or not, but these frogs have that.
There's also the consideration here of if they're pitchers, are they doctoring the balls with the slime on their pads?
Oh, good point.
Yeah. I mean, because you don't know what that's going to do to the rotation of a ball when you pitch it if you've got that sort of slime.
Yeah.
All right. So what about these gigantic eyes that they have? They've got these big old red eyes that are reflected in the logo. Do they have like particularly good sight, or is it, why do these frogs have these great big eyes?
So I'm going to go on a limb here and say that the people who designed the logo thought that the red-eyed tree frog was more charismatic, and that's why they picked that one, even though it's not the frog that represents the region.
Okay.
But I think everyone forgives them for that because it makes their other merchandise really super cute, and it actually got both of us to buy T-shirts.
Oh, it totally did. Yeah, we both bought T-shirts. Well, and they have said that the logo itself is based on both the Pacific tree frog and the Central American red-eyed frog. And so the Central American red-eyed frog,
red-eyed tree frog.
The red-eyed tree frog. I'm sorry. See, that's why you're the wildlife consultant and I'm the logo nerd. So what's the advantage of these great big eyes? Do they have really good eyesight?
They do, and they're nocturnal. So most nocturnal animals have big eyes.
Okay.
But in the red-eyed tree frog, it actually does the second thing. It helps them swallow their food easier. So kind of like imagine a ballpark visitor trying to eat as many hot dogs as possible. These big eyes on the frogs actually help them swallow their food faster.
That makes no sense.
They blink and it pushes the food down their throat.
But if you're like, look, if you're a ball player, a minor league ball player, and you're hitting that post-game spread, A, it may not be like that extensive, and B, you got to get in there fast. You got to make sure you get yours. So
I'm thinking that maybe the red-eyed tree frog, in some ways, represents the crowd rather than the players necessarily, because they're trying to eat all these hot dogs as quickly as possible before their kids, get to them. So.
And you and I haven't eaten since breakfast, and so I'm thinking.
Which was only a few hours ago.
Well, yeah. At Pike Place Market, that was a great time,
in Seattle,
got
that
some
was so
amazing
great.
Chinese food for breakfast. That was really pretty incredible.
It was kind of fun to try different kinds of food that I hadn't. I was like, when in Seattle, you got to try some different things.
And went to this little mom and pop coffee shop at Pike Place Market that's been around since 50 years.
Yeah, called Starbucks.
Starbucks? Yeah, okay. All right.
We stayed in way too long of a line for Starbucks.
We did, but it was the first ever Starbucks, and that was kind of cool.
It was so worth it.
I'm sure it was all Seattle natives we were standing there in line with, too. Yeah, it was.
I really liked the Ferris wheel. That was my favorite part of the morning.
Ferris wheel was pretty good.
Yeah,
exactly.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I like all the T-shirt shops.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You bought the whole thing. No, you didn't.
All right.
So back to the frogs.
Back to the frogs. I have another question, because one of the distinctive features in this logo is the tongue.
Yes.
And so what's going on with this tongue? In the logo, the frog is catching a baseball with his tongue.
Yes.
Not something you see often on the actual field of play, but what is the frog doing with his tongue there? In general, the Pacific tree frog, the red-eyed tree frog, the red-eyed frog. What's it called?
Red-eyed tree frog.
The red-eyed tree frog from Central America. What's the functionality there of the tongue?
Well, it's to catch prey. And so obviously it could hop to catch prey, but then that little hop would give it away, right?
Okay.
Because you didn't have it.
Look at that ball went right over our head.
Oh my goodness. Good thing it didn't hit us. So the tongue, so imagine if you're a frog and you're looking at a grasshopper that's, a couple inches away, and you're like, well, I could hop to that grasshopper and then stick on my tongue.
Yeah.
But it's gonna hop away, right? The prey's gonna get away.
Yeah.
So if I sit in one place and try to blend in with the surroundings, and then I stick my tongue out as far as I can reach, I'm gonna get that without, it's the element of surprise, right?
Yeah.
And so you're gonna be more likely to get the prey item. So kind of like an outfielder who has a big reach. So that tongue is basically just a long arm.
Okay.
So I'm imagining that if you're an outfielder, you need to be fairly tall, and your arms need to be pretty long so you can stretch out and reach the ball with your glove. And that's going to give you the advantage as an outfielder. So you probably don't have too many short outfielders in baseball is what I'm thinking. All
right. Now you've given me a research project. I'm going to go check out the average height of a Major League Baseball outfielder.
Yeah. So basically, tongue is just an extension. It's just basically their arm is for grabbing things.
Okay.
One more last cool thing about the red-eyed tree frog is that when they lay their eggs on the underside of a leaf, right above a pool of water, so when they hatch, boom, they fall into the water and they swim around as tadpoles.
Huh.
But what happens if a snake comes along and they're wanting to eat those eggs? Because apparently they're like caviar, like they're a delicacy.
Yeah, sure.
And we want to eat those eggs, and so do a lot of predators.
Yeah.
So they can sense the vibration of a snake or another predator nearby, and they can distinguish it from another thunderstorms and other natural vibrations.
Wow.
They know that it's a predator, and they will hatch early.
Whoa.
And then drop into the water.
That is very cool.
And get away from predators. Isn't that cool that something that is still in an egg form can evade a predator? I think that's wild. That's kind of crazy.
That is incredible. And I don't know that there's really a baseball application for that, but that is just a very cool fact.
It's just a really cool thing. I mean, they just have that sixth sense. So maybe some baseball players just have that ability to be like, okay, this hitter is going to, he's going to bunt.
Mm.
And they can kind of just sense it. Or this guy's going to just slam it and I need to back up maybe.
Yeah.
So it might work, it might be one of those things that baseball players innately have and no one really knows. It just makes them more successful ball players. Who knows?
All right. Yeah. Sort of, there's a combination of scouting, but also, just an innate sense for baseball there. So I can see it. I can see it.
I bet recruiters have a way to they're watching the players and going, okay, this guy has sort of like a sixth sense that we can't really put our finger on, and we're gonna recruit him for our team.
This is like the battle between like Moneyball versus Trouble with the Curve here, right? This is the sabermetrics versus the classic baseball scouting. So, what is that actual sense based on? So, Ranger Amy, wildlife consultant for Baseball by Design, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for coming on and talking about tree frogs in both the Pacific Northwest and the red-eyed variety in Central America.
Twist my arm. You had to bring me out to a live ball game to get this interview. That was really tough.
And now we're going to go get some ice cream and a helmet.
Thanks for having me. This is such a great time. I love this. I love broadcasting live from a game.
Broadcasting live, not from the Helmet Sunday Hall of Fame.
No, broadcasting live from the AquaSox Funko Stadium.